Okay. Yes, can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you.
Madam Mayor, hindsight's a wonderful thing. Let's be honest, the recent Tooting LTN debacle was doomed to failure from the outset. In effect, the council implemented not 5, but 1 single monolithic low-traffic neighbourhood covering most of Tooting. We did this in tandem with TfL's upgrade of Cycle Superhighway 7 at a time when public transport capacity was severely restricted with minimal prior notification to affected residents and businesses. To be fair, we all know, or we should all know, why the Tooting LTNs were implemented without consultation. The funds that Transport Secretary Grant Shapps made available and were dispensed via Transport for London had to be spent within a barely feasible timeframe on measures that, notionally at least, address problems of social distancing and transport capacity arising from the pandemic. On top of this, our hard-pressed traffic and engineering team were competing with pretty well every other London borough for temporary infrastructure required to make the LTNs work. This meant that on day one, motorists were guided by limited or no signage in some cases and encountered barriers that could be simply moved to one side. Small surprise then that we witnessed the scenes of severe delays, increased pollution, stress, choke points, and danger to public safety to which the petition alludes. But this is where, with some trepidation, I have to depart from some of the sentiments expressed in the petition presented by Councillor Hart. It would be easy to say, as Councillor Hart seems to be saying, we've taken out the LTNs, we've learnt the lesson, game over. And yes, given the veritable mayhem that was witnessed on our streets, I agree that it was right to suspend the LTN experiment. But when I toured the LTN areas on my bike, as well as witnessing at times severe congestion on the main road network, and frankly reckless behaviour by drivers mounting pavements to avoid closures, I also experienced something of the tranquillity that LTNs can bring to residential areas. I even saw children playing safely on the street. I would fervently hope that the majority of those who signed the petition and the members of the majority party, other than those who I would term as being of the Farageist tendency, would agree that low traffic neighbourhoods implemented incrementally and with comprehensive consultation up front do have a role to play in contributing to modal shift and encouraging an increase in walking and cycling. What we need to achieve as part of a response to climate change. Low traffic neighbourhoods do not trap residents in their homes, and introduced with proper consultation and engagement are not tantamount to dictatorship. And herein lies an inconvenient truth. As individuals, we all have a part to play in making the changes that are desperately needed in response to the existential threat of global heating. That is something that we as a council acknowledged when last year we declared a climate emergency and put in place our environmental sustainability strategy. In saying this, I'm not, to use a term coined by the petition, seeking to vilify those who choose to continue to drive. As a car owner myself, that would be hypocrisy on my part. Of course, there are many good reasons why people will continue to use their car. Disability, absence of realistic alternative, or the fact that motorised transportation is an integral part of our economy. Madam Mayor, Tooting is one of the busiest, if not the busiest, of our town centres, a centre that during my 40+ years as a Tooting resident, I've seen prosper as a retail centre, and prior to COVID-19, a burgeoning nighttime economy. And the vast majority of folk who shop and come to Tooting for entertainment arrive on foot and by public transport. Let me end by briefly painting a vision of a future Tooting, a Tooting that through collaborative working with Transport for London and London's Mayor sees main roads transformed through the implementation of the much anticipated Tooting pedestrian pilot scheme. A Tooting where integrated public transport and tough emission standards have created a pollution-free environment. And a Tooting where residential streets are tranquil shared spaces that help bring communities together and can be enjoyed by all. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor McDermott.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Can hear you.
This petition has certainly made its mark. whether in support or with anxiety at the potential loss of traffic reduction schemes. I do feel that selective quotes from such a huge petition by Councillor Rigby really adds nothing to the debate. The council very quickly became aware of public concern with low traffic neighbourhoods and their impact on vehicle journeys and ways of life of ordinary Tooting residents. Wandsworth is the only borough that has reacted so quickly and decisively. Low traffic neighbourhoods were suspended in September. The council responded to wide discontent and strong evidence that LTNs were not working as they should be. We all now realise that the introduction of LTNs was too sudden and there wasn't enough communication with residents. But those were the COVID rules at the time. But I must stress, this is not the end of residents being able to have road schemes that suit their needs and make their neighbourhoods healthier and safer. I want to look forward. I'm afraid Councillor Rigby's contribution was very much in the past and didn't offer much more. Welcome some of Councillor Loveland's input. The council has brought in new rules. Proper consultation is a major prerequisite, and quite right too. Full scrutiny at committee is a must and will happen. I know the Cabinet member is encouraging residents to get together and work with their ward councillors to discuss what is really needed locally. In Nightingale, Oakmead Road barrier is a good example of very strong local resident support to reduce too much unnecessary traffic in their street. At the same time, the closure is having minimal impact on neighbouring roads. Traffic still flows freely on the adjacent routes. As a Nightingale councillor, I've just submitted a petition from residents in Rowfant Road. They're asking officers to investigate ways to reduce traffic and make their roads safer and less polluted. Traffic schemes won't happen unless residents ask. So it's very good to see petitions from West Putney and Earlsfield being submitted. We do want more people to walk and cycle, but this should be done with encouragement. It has to be personal choice. But we also know that driving is essential for many residents, and particularly for businesses, taxis and delivery drivers. Going forward, we'll have more and better data to identify residential roads that have too much traffic and roads that suffer from unhealthy amounts of pollution. As Councillor Rigby mentioned, with today's coroner's ruling that pollution played a part in the sad death of Ella Kissy Deborah, collecting data on pollution will be even more important to build safe and healthy neighbourhoods for our families. So I encourage ward councillors to keep their ear to the ground and liaise with their residents and highways officers to devise traffic reduction schemes that really work. Councillor Locker and officers are ready and waiting to hear from you.
Thank you, Councillor.
Madam Mayor, I was named by one of the speakers in the debate. I wonder if I might do a point of personal explanation.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Councillor Hart, for mentioning me earlier on in your remarks. You suggested that I might be hiding my head in the sand, I think you said. I can assure you that as the Assembly member for Merton and Wandsworth, and of course the changes implemented by TfL go from Balham all the way down to Morden, so they cover both boroughs, that I have been most assiduous in raising all of the concerns about the TfL scheme continuously with TfL. I have done that by direct correspondence with officers. I have also done it by raising matters on the public record with the Mayor through Mayor's question time. And I can assure you I am not burying my head. I've also been meeting shopkeepers and talking to drivers, talking to cyclists, talking to pedestrians. That is the last thing that I have been doing over the implementation of the scheme. And I think Councillor McDermott and Councillor Rigby and Councillor Loveland have talked about the need for consultation. I would agree this was a very difficult arrangement with these emergency traffic orders that Grant Shapps insisted on in the beginning, and I think we probably all regret the speed with which things went in, but I think the constant adjustments, and you will have noticed that wands have gone and adjustments have been made by TfL since the implementation, and I would hope that we can all move forward in a positive way to start to clean up the air across the borough by rebalancing what we do on our roads. And I am absolutely committed to clean air, getting rid of toxic air, and I am raising these issues continuously to balance the needs of all road users with TfL. I'm not burying my head in the sand. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you,
I also have a point of personal explanation because my name was mentioned several times by Councillor McDermott.
Yes.
Okay, so I read all of the comments, Councillor McDermott, because it was very important to know exactly where people were writing from, and it was such a surprise to see people from around the world. And this, it jogged my memory of when myself and other parents at Chestnut Grove handed in a petition to make the road on Chestnut Grove in your ward safer, and you rejected it because it had people from outside Wandsworth. It had parents from Streatham, it had parents from Stockwell. And so it does smack of hypocrisy to criticise me for reading the comments and finding out that people from Lahore, New Zealand, South Africa and Egypt had a say in Tooting, and parents from Streatham were denied that right.
Thank you, Councillor Rigby. Councillor White?
Hi. Yes, an adjournment, adjournment debate, bringing the attention of Wandsworth to the homeless in the borough, especially the 3,000 children that are currently homeless this Christmas.
We have, Councillor White, can I just get some guidance? We don't normally have it with the, stick with the new rules. The adjournment debate is after we've concluded the business which we're discussing. We haven't quite finished yet. I understood from the way that you, because you put your hand up.
Oh, sorry.
That's right. So can we just wait? So I know where you're going to come in on this. So if I may finish this, please. Are there? The Council is invited to note the executive decision in relation to this matter that's been debated is set out in paragraph 4 of paper number 2395. Are there any objections or abstentions to noting the executive's decision?
Noted.
In the absence of any objections or abstentions, I record the executive's decision is noted. Councillor Cook, is the executive's decision noted?
It is, Madam Mayor, thank you.
Is there any dissent or abstention from the Conservative group on the voting indicated by Councillor Cook? No. Councillor Carpenter's executive decision noted. I think I heard you say yes.
Indeed, it is.
Yes, there's no dissent or abstention from your group. Councillor Grimston, how do you wish to vote? Do you note the executive's decision, Councillor Grimston?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Grimston. The executive's decision is noted.